Hey, what is up, guys? And welcome back to another Magic the Gathering online league. We're back with Basking Broodscale on the draw for game one. So opponent kept, but it's paused after me keeping, which means they have a pregame action. So either it's a Devourer of Destiny or a Leyline of the Guild Pact would be my two guesses. As far as what we want to see off of our Devourer, we're ideally wanting to see a Basking Broodscale. Since we're on the draw, we'll draw into it so we can then fetch for a forest to play at the Lighted Halfling, go over the Burn Willows, Blade, and then Broodscale. Negative Soul Cauldrons are kind of just here in case we also happen to draw into a Ballista. Yeah. Unfortunately, we don't have a turn 2 line. Looking at turn 3. There's Leyline of the Guild Pact. Reveal Devourer. And pass. There is Sacred Foundry Shock. A Ragavan, I imagine. No, nothing. Might be a Leyline then. Kozak's command is actually pretty tempting. Otherwise it might not be castable. I think I might just go with the temp. Prismatic Vista, fetch. For a forest, the Lighted Halfling, and pass. Bolt. Yep, Bolt the Bird is right. And pass. And based on this, we probably just play Agatha's Soul Cauldron. There's Ragavan, draw, Prismatic Vista. We'll actually play the Prismatic Vista. And fetch for a waste. For a forest, for a waste. For a forest, we'll go for a forest. And play the Agatha Soul Cauldron. Arena of Glory. And they could haste a Kavu, they could haste a Scion here, which would be pretty rough. Would put a decent clock on me. Ragavan hits. It's a 16. What does it hit? Would have liked that Malevolent Rumble. Opponent can now cast Malevolent Rumble. Yeah, if we had gotten the Rumble, I think we actually could have gotten there. Damn. Sign of Draco. End step. I'll get rid of the Bolt. Just make sure Flage can't escape if it gets to that point. Oh, hello. So, I mean, we can't win, but we can do a lot of work. So we are going to cast Basking Broodscale. I can't win those. I can't actually go off. I need one more turn. Maybe I should have held. Because I can Agatha Soul Cauldron, target the Broodscale. Well, I can adapt. I'm trying to think here. If I adapt, I make a spawn. how will this work? If I adapt to make a spawn, if I Aggie Soul Cauldron, I make a spawn. But then I'm not able to actually move forward at all, is the only problem. So I will adapt. Actually, hold on. If I play the blade, and then Aggie Soul Cauldron makes a spawn, I can then equip the blade, but then I can't do anything thereafter, so yeah, we'll just adapt. Green, green, adapt. If I had the ballista, then we would be able to go somewhere, but we don't. So maybe I should have held the Broodscale for a turn. Probably what I should have done in retrospect. Because if they have a always yes, always yield. Yes, so now I can Aggie Soul Cauldron, target Delighted Halfling. Always yield. And there's the Leyline Binding. Surprised they didn't do it earlier. Why not? I mean, I guess regardless, we are going to get interrupted, right? Cast Blade of the Blood Chief. And pass. And hold. Yeah, if I had waited one more turn, we could have gone off unimpeded. I mean, that's not unimpeded, but it would have been less risky. Because now we risk a, yeah, like a Tribal Flame, something like that. So Broodscale's down. I'm going to take the 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana. Yep, 6, down to 10, trigger. Malevolent Rumble. Every single time. What is up with this? I still think that they have a Leyline Binding too is the problem. Actually, 1... So it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, Exile Scion. And we could do that next turn at the very least. Red, green, Kavu, no Rumble. So they cast the Rumble. There goes Denial. I guess they'll grab a land because they don't need the late line. It's a bit of a whiff. Choose the Flooded Strand. And passes. Draw. Cavernous Souls. Cavernous Souls name Eldrazi. Agatha Soul Cauldron exiles the Broodscale. So I'm going to tap it for colorless. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Sack it, trigger blade. Should always mark that as yield. And 7. Devourer, target the ley line. I guess that's right. I can't actually target the sign because that is hexproof. That is a bit annoying, admittedly. And pass. Thatchwooded Foothill. Yeah, so maybe I should have waited a turn for the Broodscale. At least we could have then made it, for all intent and purpose, infinitely big. Yeah. It's kind of just ended up the same. We still take the same amount of damage, yada yada. So I think, yeah, the biggest thing I'm learning here is that I need to... I thought I had the line to start going off, but I was short 1. Once again, I think because if this was a lab, then we would have been fine. It was not, though. Red, red, black, white. What in the world are we trying to pay for? Leyline binding. Okay, so they did have the binding, so I'm not sure if it would have mattered. Okay. That is the answer to that. We'll take 6 down to 4. We currently have access to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana. There's Grove of Burn Willows. And we don't really have much in the way of a way to win next turn. Is that a Travel Flames? Okay. So this is against Zoo. Lost for game 1. So I'm not sure it really mattered if I waited a turn. It would have likely just resulted in the Leyline binding. Thief can hit a Guild Pact. That is relevant. We can cut a Gemstone. We can cut an Emrakul. I'm going to say an Ugin. The Altus actually is really good. And if we want to bring in this member, we would cut a Flesh Rake and a Ballista. And run it like this. Okay. Yes, I think that makes sense. On the play for game 2. And we have a payoff. We're looking for the other half of that engine. Okay. Let's see if we can make this work. Opponent goes down to 6. We'll go Prismatic Vista, Fetch Forest, Delighted Halfling, and then next turn we're looking at Malevolent Rebel. We're looking specifically for Basking Broodscale. Because we can do that, then we're in a position to win with the K command. Otherwise, we can always go forth with the Ugin. Which Ugin does, does start a 2-turn clock. Opponent's still thinking on their opening 6. Must be a pretty good opening 6. Either that or just a difficult choice and let them pitch back to bottom. Still tinkin'. So yeah, we'll go Prismatic Vista, Fetch Forest, Delighted Halfling, pass. Eldrazi Temple, Malevolent Rumble, searching for Broodscale. Then we'll probably end up playing the Blade of the Blood Chief. So Prismatic Vista, Fetch, Forest, Halfling, cast, pass, and pass. Blood Crypt, Shock for Bolt, Bolt. Draw, Dismember, Malevolent Rumble. There's the Broodscale. Do we need to play the Blade now? I mean, if I am to win, I need to draw land. This forces them to have the Leyline Binding. In either ways, I need to draw into a land, right? We'll play the Blade and pass. And pass. If I find a land, I can win. Right? Ballista. So I'm tempted to hold for K Command X1 instead of playing the Basking Broodscale. Because right now the Broodscale does nothing. It just kind of sits there and potentially dies. If I had one more mana, we could have done it. We'll pass. Fetch Wooded Foothills for a Triome. For Surveil Land. Okay, that resolves. Tribal Flames to Yard. Interesting. Flooded Strand. Put a pause on end step. K command X equals 1. We'll ramp, we'll scry draw. I'm worried about both Leyline Binding, Bolt, Consign, another K command. Top. Draw. Prismatic Vista. Prismatic Vista, fetch. I'll go with another forest. And I think I just hold the K command here. So we could, I mean, we could go off, but they're clearly holding something, right? There's no way they're not. So I think I just hold. Right now I have access to 4 mana for Ugin. We can push it up to 6. Flooded Strand, fetch, Temple Garden, shock, and where? Okay, so we knew that they had something. Yes, that is fine. Land, fetch, Arid Mesa. Steam Vent, shock to 11. Red, red, green, black, Obsidian Charmal. ETBs. We can cast the K command for full. X equals 3. Grove of the Burn Willows, Grove of the Burn Willows, Prismatic Vista. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll have 6. We'll be short 1 for the Ugin. So I guess I'll bottom, top, and top and draw, resolve. And draw. Prismatic Vista, fetch. For a waste. Cast Broodscale, dismember the Charmal. And pass. And pass. I need that spawn for the Ugin. Like I said, it starts a 2-turn clock. Paying cost for another Charmal. It's a basic. Draw. Malevolent Rumble. I do worry about them fetching for a... Actually. Yeah, I do worry about them fetching for a consign. There's Blade of the Blood Chief. Play Grove of the Burn Willows. Blade of the Blood Chief. Do you have a consign? And opponent scoops it up. We'll take it. Alright. We do want our gemstone back. We'll cut an Agatha Soul Cauldron and run it back. Everything worked out in the end. Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I'm learning about this deck is that I do need to be a bit more patient. Excuse me. Excuse me again. 4 hits off the top. I mean, we'll keep it. Yeah, we'll make this work. Leyline of the Guild Pact, that is trouble. Do we see a Ragavan? We do see a Ragavan. Draw. Prismatic Vista. Prismatic Vista, I will fetch. I'll fetch for a forest. And pass. And pass. Probably could have waited to do that, I suppose. Have them have a higher chance of hitting a land. Ragavan hits. Trigger. Ugin Lab. That's fine. Lab's not doing much right now. There's a Silent Draco. Draw. There's a Thief. Oh, I'll play the Broodscale. Pass. And pass. Ragavan does have first strike. There's Leyline Binding. Yep. 6 down to 11. Makes a treasure. They are short on lands, it looks like. Draw. Gemstone. I will play the Grove. And I'll play the Thief. Thief will exile the Leyline of the Guild Pact. Consign to memory. The body or the trigger? Spectral Denial. I'll not pay the one. Not pay the one. And we'll pass. 6 down to 5. I do need an answer and an answer soon. Cavern of Souls would have been nice, but not really what we're looking for. Draw. So I could attempt to resolve Ballista. Ballista would allow me to ping the monkey. I think that is right. X equals 2. Does Ballista resolve? Ballista resolves. I will pass. The thing is, we're still going to be at 1. Land. To combat. Ping the monkey. And I don't think I have a way out of the situation is the problem, because I'm going to go down to 1. A bolt, tribal flames, or flage wins. Bolt. Or not. Wooded foothills, fetch. Steam vents, shock. To 21. Green, red, Kavu. Tribal flames. Okay, you got it. And Bulge. Yeah, just add insult to injury, thank you. Alright. Well, it is what it is. Sometimes win, sometimes you lose some. I feel like Zoo's probably not a great matchup. That's because the amount of interaction they have available to them in game 1, let alone games 2 and 3. But that said, we'll be back for match number 2. Alright, and we're back for match 2 on the draw for game 1. I mean, if we draw into a land, this is looking really good. I'll keep it. I'll pass. As we go forced, turn 1, delighted halfling. Okay, so this is combo versus combo. And they could win on turn 2. Yay. Devour, your turn late. Delighted halfling, pass. And pass. Actually, I guess if we draw into a lab, we win. Yeah, if we draw into a lab, we win. Do we lose? Ruben Battalion. We're not dead yet. Lab. All is dust. That's not lab. I think we go Malevolent Rumble then. Right? Or no? I mean, we could go Basking Broodscale, equip, but we then don't have a way. Yeah, I think we Rumble. Lab. Done. Lab. Imprint. Aggie Soul Cauldron. Pass. And pass. Do we lose? Bitter Reunion. Please don't have Hasty Scions. There's Belcher gone. Do you win? You only need 3 mana for the Ironcrag feat. So I need a ritual. A ritual gets you to the feat. And feat gets you to the Scion. And passing. Draw. Alright, let's go for it. So let's start by Blade of the Blood Chief. Broodscale. Equip. Sack. Always yield. Always yes. Always yield. And opponent concedes. Yep, opponent concedes. Cool. So this is Belcher. Win for game 1. All right. Well, let's move the sideboard. And yeah, this is where Trinisphere comes in. Trinisphere. We cut an Emrakul. We cut an Ugin. We cut a Flesh Rake. We cut a Ballista. We can cut an Aggie Soul Cauldron. Is that necessary? Could bring in Flute. A Flute at least. Flute's not a bad idea. Because it can just name, whatchamacallit, Goblin Char Belcher. Hell, I can actually name Iron Crag Feet. So I'll bring in a Flute. Yeah, we cut both Agisil Cauldrons. Like, that did get us to a win, but we also had multiple lines. I think we need to play pretty aggressively here. I think we do this, and then we can bring in a third when we side out the Gemstone Cavern if we go on the play next game. And that's a Flute. We have one half the engine. I will keep. I'll pass. Thing is, they could have a turn 2 win, so I'm kind of tempted to just hold the blade instead, hold up the flute. Strike it rich. Yeah, I think we hold the flute. Lab, imprint, pass. And hold. Medallion resolves. Draw. Well, this has gotten interesting. So I'm going to play a forest and play the blade, and then hold the flute. Manamorphose resolves. Again, they're just trying to get... I feel like this is going to be a Stormscale Scion. And they need... How much mana for Stormscale? Let's see here. Stormscale Scion. Stormscale S. It is 6 mana. So reduction by 2 would be 4. Passing? Really? They'd be short on Belcher. This is fine. Draw. So I'm thinking that if I go E-Temp. So right now we need a payoff as the problem. Malevolent Rumble. Devour of Destiny does not cut it, would like that K command by comparison. So in that case, we'll grab the Devourer. And again, I'm going to hold the Flute. If they had the Stormscale, they kind of messed up their line. So we're hoping that it's just a Belcher. Strike 8 Rich resolves. Again, all they need is 4 right now. Resolves. Yeah, I'm just gonna cast the full. Actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, that's fine. If you just go ahead and play Stormscale, we can sweep the Stormscale. Yes, that's fine. Yep. Those resolve. And draw a second Broodscale. So, what I can do then is Prismatic Vista. Fetch a Prismatic Vista for a green source. Broodscale. Tap. Equip for 1. Sack. Always yield. Always yes. Always yield. All is dust. Triggers. I mean, we could make 2 giant Broodscales, but I'm not exactly feeling like we need to. No reason not to. Broodscale. Equip the Broodscale trigger. Resolve. Always yes. And I think at that point, we'll just pass. So I can't kill you now, but I can next turn, and I have a Disruptor Flute for a Belcher, just in case. So the Broodscales are, for all intent purpose, infinite. And Bone scoops it up. Alright, we got the win. Not bad. Yeah, I mean, the flute helped out a lot. The All's Dust actually came in clutch in the Stormscale. I'm like, okay, I mean, unless they have the Bitter Reunion, which we can flute before it resolves, we were pretty much just locked up. Good stuff. We'll be back for match 3. Alright, we're back for match 3 on the draw for game 1. I mean, we have 1/2 the engine, and we have a payoff. We have some ways we can dig. I'll keep. I'll pass. It's a bit slow, but we can, especially if this is Ruby Storm. Prismatic Vista, fetch for a forest. Lay to the Blood Chief. Pass. We do have a way to dig a bit deeper now. Red, Reckless Impulse, so they're digging deep. Draw. Glaring Flesh Rake. Okay, we do have a way to kill. We have multiple ways to kill now. Unfortunate. No hits. I'm going to grab... Let me go Flesh Rake. So we can go Flesh Rake into Flesh Rake. And pass. And hold. Right now that looks like they're missing a mana reducer. Okay, there's Ral. If they don't win this turn, we can exile Ral. And a Morphos trigger. So mini Writ. They win the flip, but they won't flip Ral. 2 and draw. Do you have another Impulse draw? There's a Ritual. Okay. There's a Medallion. There's a Ritual. They win the flip. 3 cards in hand. Runs resolve. They lose the flip. Lands. Past in Flames, of course. Wins the flip, flips the Row. Chooses not to. And I think at this point, we just pass and fold. There's not much for me to do. If we lose, we lose. Unfortunate. Yeah, the Past in Flames was a bit rough. I mean, we'll just bring in 4 Trinispheres, 2 Dismembers. We could arguably bring in Thief of Existence as well. I'm not sure we have enough things that we can cut for all of the above, but the Trinisphere is a must, right? There's the Grape Shot. At this point, they're just trying to up the Storm count for the Grape Shot. Yeah. We have lost. I'll just concede at this point. There's no reason for me to not. Wee's dead. So this is Ruby Storm. Basically one Ruby Storm deck to another. Alright, let's go to sideboard. And again, I'm going to cut the Gemstone. We can cut, let's say, Ag the Soul Cauldron. I'm going to say Allah's Dust, Emrakul, Ballista, Fleshwake. That gives me 7, so I can bring in Trinisphere. Bring in Dismember. We can bring in 1 more card. Maybe we just keep the Agatha Soul Cauldron and run it back like this. And we cut the Soul Cauldron for the Gemstone next game if we make it there. Yeah, let's do that. All right. On the play for game 2. We'll keep. We'll thin the deck with a Prismatic Vista. Fetch for a forest. Prismatic Vista. Fetch. For a forest. Blade. Pass. And pass. Draw. Pause. Halfling. Halfling is actually kind of interesting because I'm trying to think. I think we just go Broodscale and say, hey, do you have a way to interact? If not, I win. Fetch, Arid Mesa, Elegant Parlor, Royalty Yard, and pass. Mountain, Red, Metamorphose, Digging, this is mana neutral, looking for a Prismatic Ending, Ral, and basically they're saying, okay, do you have the finisher? Equipped, adapt, always yes, always yield. Always yield. Glaring Fleshrake. Always yield. Opponent scoops. Opponent typed out, you have a win con, and before they could send it, I already had played the Fleshrake. Alright. That answers that question. I mean, that was a fantastic hand. Not much can be said about that. Alright, we'll cut the Agatha Soul Cauldron and run it back. Alright, if we can do that again, we'll be in a good spot. We need a turn to win. We have no pieces to the puzzle, but we can find them with Devour, we can find them with Rumble, We find a Trinisphere, which we have a good shot of seeing. We might be able to slow him down, so I'm going to keep. And turn 2 Trinisphere is important. So we're going to Devour, pass. It's actually going to be right to go Delighted Halfling first. Ritual TR, trigger. There's the Trinisphere as we hoped. So Forest, Halfling, pass, and pass. Rinse resolve. Draw. K command. Ugin Lab. Imprint. I'll set off with a Rumble. That leaves 1, 2, spawn is 3. Rumble. I will go with a Ballista. Trinisphere, and pass. I guess we could have gone with Devourer, so we could have K commanded a little larger. Yeah, maybe that would have been good, but at least this now gives us a win con. Medallion, draw. Prismatic Vista, fetch. We'll go for a Forest. And remind me for Ral. Is Ral 3 mana? Yeah, that's right. So Ballista wouldn't cut it, so we're going to hold up the K command. I'm going to hold up the Lighted Halfling. Elegant Parlor, trigger. They're looking for a way to deal with Trinisphere. End step. K command. K command X equals 3. Bottom, top, bottom, draw. Draw. Prismatic Vista. Prismatic Vista, fetch. For waste. Blade of the Blood Chief. Oh, that's right, we need 3 mana. Only downside to that, I suppose. Walking Ballista. I guess I should, if I'm going to go for 4, I should first equip Always Yield, U to U. Trigger 1, trigger 2. And done. Go to combat. Runs resolve. Another runs resolve. And pass. And draw. Lab. Burn Willows. Actually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Put a counter on Ballista. Go to combat. Down to 9. They're at a theoretical 6, so they lethal's on board for next turn. Sacred Foundry, tapped. And we hold. Brotherhood End. Target you. Target you. target you. Trigger. Down to 5. Resolves. Prismatic ending. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's go to end step and return. Draw. Another Trinosphere. Trinosphere. Lab. No imprint. And pass. And pass. Yeah, the fact that he took out their own Ruby Medallion was desperate, but necessary given the circumstance. Draw. Lab. No imprint. Devour. Pass. Lethal's on board. Did we get there? And we got there. Good stuff. Trinosphere, you are one of my favorite artifacts. Alright, well, we'll be back for match number 4. Alright, and we're back for match 4 on the play for game 1. I will keep looking for a payoff. Reveal Devourer, trigger. And there's the Ballista, so we'll take the Ballista. Halfling, pass, and pass. Sacred Foundry, shock. Bolt the Bird, Ragavan. So we could do a few things here. I can go Temple. I can play the Broodscale. I can play the Blade, but I can't equip the Blade, is the only issue. So I can't do all of the above. This feels like it's energy, and so I do fear a discharge. I also fear potentially a static prison. So I think what I'll want to do is maybe we just play the Ballista for x equals 1. And done. And pass. To combat. Attack. To blocks. Maybe I should have played the Blade. I'll take the hit. Maybe I should have just not done anything. I haven't played the Ballista. You get a waste. That's fine. There's a Windswept Teeth. Fetch. Sacred Foundry shock the 15. Is a Flage. Bombardment. Okay. Sack target you. Yeah, maybe in retrospect I just shouldn't have played anything. Just let the Ragavan hit. That may have been the right move. Ragavan. Okay. Draw. Another Broodscale. The only thing is I can't actually adapt, but I can stop them from attacking. Well, not really. Yeah, so we can play the Broodscale. We can play the Blade. We can equip the Blade. And we'll pass. We have another Broodscale, so we can eventually play the Devourer. Yeah, I think I should have just held the Ballista, basically. Maybe played the Blade. I'll take the hit. Down to 16. You had a Temple. Kind of would have liked that, actually, for the Devourer. This is an infinitely big Broodscale that you do need to deal with. So you need a Discharge, you need a Static Prison, you need a Flage. Without those, the Broodscale's infinitely big. There's a Pyro. That gives you a blocker at least. And draw. Grove of the Burn Willows. So we can go green. Adapt. Always yes. Always yield. Always yield. So like I said, I can make an infinitely big Broodscale. I'm going to cast a Devourer of Destiny. Yeah, like I said, I think it's a bit too aggressive with the Ballista. So I'm going to exile the Bombardment, I think is right. So basically, I'm going to make this infinitely big. I'm then going to transfer this over to the other Broodscale and make the other Broodscale infinitely big. So you will have two infinitely big Broodscale on the board. And Pumpkin Seeds. Okay. We'll attack with the infinitely big Broodscale. They'll block one. Then next turn we'll attack the two infinitely big Broodscales and the Devourer. They'll block three. Yeah, so that looks good. Yeah, like I said, I think I still need to slow down. Sometimes, like, I want to play something, right? That's, like, just nature of the game. It's like, I want to play something. And so I'm like, well, I guess I'll just play this. No, just slow down, do nothing. Because if we had just held the Ballista, then we would have had the win con. It wouldn't have been as janky, right? Flute, no. Cage, no. Dismembers, yeah, I think so. We could also bring in Trinisphere if we really wanted to. But I think we cut... probably... I'm not sure if they're still in Thraven Charm, but I'm going to cut Ugin and Emrakul. We could bring in Thief in case they play Blood Moon. But that would be pretty rough. Like I said, I could bring in Trinisphere, cut to Aggie Soul Cauldron, cut a Flesh Rake, cut a Walking Ballista for the Trinisphere. Not sure how I feel about that. I think that slows us down as well. Or I really want to get into, let's say, the All is Dust. So I think we do it like this. on the draw. We have one half the engine, and we have 2 ways to dig deep. I'll keep reveal, reveal, and pass. So we're digging 8 deep for 4 hits. Sacred Foundry, Shock, Guide of Souls. Trigger number 1. Kozak's command is actually really good here, so I'm going to keep that. Yep, let's keep the Kozak's command. Prismatic Vista, fetch for a forest. We did eat a forest along the way. Lighted Halfling, and pass. And pass. Yeah, if we had a blade, if we have, actually, this is this a win next turn if we have a Basking Broodscale? I'm trying to think. Broodscale. Equip blade. No, we'd still need a ballista to trigger. There's Ugin, that's not bad. Imprint Devourer. We have a K command, X equals 2 into an Ugin next turn. I mean, I do like the sound of that. I'm gonna hold. Yeah, so we bump up to 6, then bump up to 8. So even if they were to, let's say, deal with the Delighted Halfling, that's fine. Clarion Conqueror. Well, that's actually really annoying. And I guess I could just devour it. There's a thought to that. Otherwise, we could K-command it next turn. Actually, no. This is fine. I'm going to exile and ramp. So that's an X equals 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Ugin exiles. Yes, this is fine. We could go 2, but I don't want the Ocelot Pride hitting. That resolves. Draw. Oh, shit. I didn't read that. It does stay even creatures. It is a frickin' Null Rod and Immortal Sun and Cursed Totem on a stick. Damn, that's actually pretty good. Alright, we'll play the blade. Not much I can do after that. We'll pass. We'll hold. So I need another 7-mana value spell for Ugin. Damn, that royally sucks. Like, oh, it stops planeswalkers, it stops artifacts. Nope, stops creatures too, including mana abilities. Just any activated ability. Rough. Don't tell me this is a Charmal. Charmal would suck here. Yeah, it's a Charmal. Oh, it's a Flage. That's fine. You hit the Delighted Halfling. Right? Yeah. So there's no point then in blocking the Ocelot Pride with the Eldrazi spawn. I mean, there's no point at all because they've already gained life. In addition, Hasting Ragavan. I'm going to block the Ragavan. Yeah, we block the Ragavan though. Block the Ragavan. There's no point in blocking the Ocelot Pride, so they've already gained life. Alright. I need a 7-mana value spell or an Allah's Dust. Actually, I mean, both. 7-mana value spell. Go. Close. I mean, you can make a big ballista, right? Just playing the land probably is correct. No imprint. So let's make a big ballista. Quote unquote big. X equals 3. Enough to block the Ragavan and the Pride. We can't use its ability, mind you, but it still does give us some time. Static Prison hits the ballista. Okay. Paying cost for bombardment, on top of which I might be dead. So this is 3, 6, 8. 8 plus another 8 plus 5, 13. Yeah, I'm dead. I'm dead. And I really need a 7-mana die spell there to reduce the ranks. Unfortunately not going to happen. Yeah, we'll just concede. No reason to belabor the point. Yep, concede. Damn. Yeah, the Clarion Conqueror threw me off. I should have held it, because what I would have been able to do the following turn was K command X equals 3. That's on me for not reading the card. Reading the card, this, tells me what the card does, and I was like, oh, stops artifacts, stops planeswalkers, stops creatures, but I didn't realize it didn't say mana abilities, right? Cut the gemstone. We'll bring back, and then we're cool. Yeah, so we should have held that. Should have held the K command. Would have ETB'd. It would have triggered the Guide of Souls. Fine, whatever. We could have exiled the Clarion Conqueror the following turn and set up for the Ugin. Yes, that is what we should have done. Unfortunate. Not sure how much it would have changed things, but it would have given me a bit more of a fighting chance, I feel. Because then we would have had the Walking Ballista. The Ballista would have been able to do things, ping down, whatever. The Guide of Souls had floated, etc., right? I imagine opponent doesn't really change too much. They bring in Charmel, Molten Rain, Clarion Conqueror, which we already saw. Yeah, that card's actually really good. Alright. On the play for game 3. Let's not punt it this time. This is looking good. Reveal Devourer. We're looking for a payoff. There's Ballista. Forest. Halfling. Pass. And pass. Windswept Heath. Fetch. 4. Sacred Foundry. Shock. Guide of Souls. So I can do something interesting. What I can do here is I can play the Broodscale, I can equip the Blade, and I can start generating mana. This will allow me to play a Devourer on 2. But not much else, right? So what we could do instead is, do we just play the Blade and then pass? Playing the Blade and pass might be right. So we play the Blade and pass. Alternatively, we could just play the Ballista, I suppose. Again, this is one of those ones like, I want to play something, but should I play nothing? We need to play something, right? Or are we drawn to a land? Or are we drawn to a payoff? Another payoff, that is. I'm gonna go Ugin Lab. I'm gonna imprint a Devour at the very least, right? We could play the Blade, but then we worry about Wear Tear, Static Prison, stuff like that, right? We could play the Ballista X2, and then we worry about Static Prison, Galvanic Discharge, right? I think it's right to play the Ballista. Done. And pass. And here's why, because this is probably the least impactful thing to lose. And if we don't lose it, then we should be able to win next turn. Guide of Souls, triggers. Land. Draw. Flesh Rake. Okay. So I'm going to cast Blade of the Bloodchief. Basking Broodscale. Equip Blade of the Bloodchief. Ping Guide of Souls. Ping Guide of Souls. Trigger. Always yield. Always yes. Always yield. Always yield. And then we'll go into the Galarian Flash Rake. Cast Galarian Flash Rake. And opponent scoops it up. We got there. All right. Not bad. I do wonder if maybe it was better for me to play the Blade the last turn. Because then we Broodscale. We equip Blade, but then we can't start the loop. So maybe it's better to play the Broodscale. Because we played the Broodscale. But, like, that's a high impact card to lose is my only issue. Right? Yeah. I also think maybe we should have tucked the Dust instead of the Devourer. But some interesting stuff. Some interesting stuff. That said, we'll be back for match 5. Alright. And we're back for match 5 on the play for game 1. I mean, it's a K Command X2. It's not bad, but it's not great either. I'm going to keep it. We're going to go Prismatic Vista. Fetch. Fetch for a forest. Delighted Halfling. And pass. And pass. As it allows us a K Command X2 on 2. And theoretically speaking, an All's Dust on 3. Which is okay. Fetch. Bloodstainmire. Down to 19. And imagine you're going to either Thoughtseize or Fatal Push. Steam Vents. Shock. Red. Bolt. Bolt the bird. Yes, bolt the bird. Draw. Broodscale. Alright. We could hold K Command X1, or we could Broodscale here. I'm gonna Broodscale. And pass. And pass. Sacred Foundry Shock. Corey's Steel Cut. Bobble. So it looks like Jeskai Prowess. Could also be Jeskai Ascendancy, theoretically. I'm gonna guess Prowess. Attack for 2, no blocks. And draw. And draw. There's Malevolent Rumble. Thinking on how we want to do this. Because we can K-Command X2, or we can Rumble. I will Rumble. There's Temple. Grab Temp. And there's a K-Command X1 at least. I'm not blocking the Broodscale under any circumstance, we're just going to attack. Currently have 4, 5, 7, so we could Dust next turn. Swift Spear. Swift Spear. Lava Dart. Target? Broodscale. Okay. Prowess triggers across the board. Lava Dart. Broodscale. Yeah, maybe I should have held up a green source. Broodscale's down. We could block a Swift Spear and then exile the Monk and then sweep to mitigate as much damage as possible. Yeah. So let's go to blocks. Block. K command X equals 1. And done. And pass. And draw. Ugin. We're short on Ugin, unfortunately. All is dust. And pass. And pass. A land will allow us another all is dust. Slick shot. Draw. Cavernous Souls, name Eldrazi. And pass. Currently we have 5, so can't cast the Ugin. Can they win this turn off the plotted Slick Shot? That's the question. Quarry Steel Cut. DRC. Come on, unplot. Perfect. Take 3 down to 8. Draw. Blade. All is dust coming in clutch. All is dust. Opponent's top decking. To be fair, so are we. Draw. Cast Blade. Cast Blade. And pass. And pass. Draw. Green. Colorless. Equip. Bolt. I'll still adapt. Always yes. Always yield. Resolves. Triggers on the stack. Always yield. That's fine. First Reveal land. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're looking for a land now to play the Ugin. Or another Broodscale. 2, Slick Shot, we'll take the 1. Draw. Halfling. Last thing I wanted to see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah. Equip. Equip. And pass. And pass. Combat. 1. Mutagenic growth. 3, 5 to 2. Draw. Fleshraker will not cut it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Triggers. Exile a Slick Shot. Plus Ugin, up to 5, play the Grove, and pass. A 2-turn clock has started. You have 2 turns, opponent, to win. And opponent scoops it up. Alright. Win for game 1. We will bring in Trinosphere. I'll cut Ugin, I'll cut Emrakul, we'll keep the Dust. I'll cut Glaring Fleshrake, I'll cut Ballista. Do we want anything else here? Cage does not much. Flute, no. Dismember, no. We've established that as a bad option in this matchup. I guess we could alternatively cut an Aggie Cauldron, but I think I keep as is here. Because basically we still have 9 win conditions, and we still have 9 7-mana value spells. So we're likely to see at least one of them in our opening hand. Yep, this works. This will be a turn to Trinosphere unless opponent interacts with our mana. Keep. Pass. Blade. Okay, we're missing only one half of the engine now. Vista. Fetch. For Forest. Halfling. Pass. Thundering Falls, trigger, Bloodstained Mire, pass. Steam Vents, shock, the 17. Scori Steel Cut, Bobble, trigger. No blocks. Bobble, trigger, target me. No blocks. And draw. Trigger. Draw. Forest. Trinosphere. And pass. And pass. They are Jeskai, so they do have an easier ability of dealing with this. Devourer. Cavern of Souls. Name Eldrazi. White. Glaring Fleshrake. Fetch Scouting Tarn. Tapped and pass. Yai. Triggers. With a Scouting Tarn, attacks for 3, down to 12. No blocks, draw. All is dust. Yeah, I think we go, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No matter what, we get 6, basically. So 1, 2, 3. Actually, I do wonder. I think the blade is probably correct. 2, 3. Always yield. Always yield. ETB. Equip the flash rake. Go to combat. Swing at you for 1. Scouting turn fetch for a surveil land. Sacred Foundry tapped, so they have a white source now. Go to combat. We'll take the 2. Draw. Broodscale. Alright, well, let's do it. So we will go green. Colorless green. Trigger. Blue. I think someone's forgetting something important. Consigned memory. Resolve. Yep, and they realized. Trigger. Equip. Sack. Always yield. Always yes. Always yield. And that's game. Opponent concedes. Nope. Opponent wants me to play it out. Alright. 3, 2, 1, and game. Oh, there we go. Good stuff. Alright, that felt pretty good. This is a bit of a unique build, as it does not run Urza's Saga. That's good for a couple reasons. For one, we're able, it presents more of a quote-unquote budget option, because Sagas do be expensive right now. One of the reasons, though, why we're not on Saga is because when I was previously testing the deck, it did not have a good opening hand data. And you would think that would be wrong, right? You would think the card that could fetch you Blade of the Bloodsheaf would be good. Because then you have an equivalent of, Blade of Bloodsheaf numbers 5 through 8 in the deck. Because then a Saga on 1 gets you to a Blade on 3, and a Broodscale on 2 yields to infinite mana on 3. That would be the thought, at least, right? But seemingly that isn't the answer. So I kind of stopped playing Basking Broodscale because, to be transparent, it wasn't doing well on YouTube. So if you want to see more Basking Broodscale, share out the video, watch the video in full, interact with the video. More or less, I'm playing decks and putting up videos that are doing well. And Basking Broodscale before, not so great. That being said, though, we're revisiting it because it did just recently win a Spotlight series. So it seems like no better time than the present. But one thing we did brew before I stopped playing it last time was, what if we used Ugin's Lab It allows for us to accelerate pretty quickly, and in some really unique cases does allow for a turn 2 win by going turn 1 Blade, turn 2 Broodscale, equip Blade, Ballista, infinite mana, have a second payoff, or an Agatha Soul Cauldron, you win, right? It allows for some really explosive plays. It also allows for us to play hate pieces like Trinisphere quite early as well, which is nice. So a lot of cool things are then accessible. Of course, we then need to saturate the deck with at least 9 7-mana value spells, in which I have done, in the way of Devourer of Destiny, which kind of acts as our Ancient Stirrings, or in this case, Once Upon a Time on a stick, which is nice. Emrakul, which Duo was already pretty stock or standard. Ugin, because, well, I do love me some Ugin. And as we saw, even if it doesn't end the game, much the same way Emrakul doesn't end the game, it does create a 2-turn clock, which basically says, cool, we resolved this, we've exiled your biggest creature, you've gained 3 life, drawn a card, maybe exiled 2. What are you going to do about it, right? So that's one thing that I really do like about Ugin. It also does add another type that we can Malevolent Rumble over for Emrakul, which is always nice. And then All is Dust just as a general sweeper. Sometimes that's all you really need. Like, you've made infinite mana, but you have nothing else. An Ancient Stirrings ain't gonna do jack, but an All is Dust, set them back to the Stone Age, right? So I think it's really nice in that regard. I kind of like where we're at right now with All is Dust, Devour, Ugin, and Emrakul. Right now sitting on, what is this? 7-11, yeah. So we're sitting on 11 7-mana value spells, which allows me some flexibility in what I cut. The Light Halfling feels great. It serves a similar purpose as Utopia Sprawl in acting as Soul Land number 8 through 12. And that's the biggest thing I'm starting to realize. It's kind of good to view mana dorks in that way. It's like, oh, this is a Soul Land. It's, weak to interaction, but it's a tapped Ugin's Lab. That's kind of how it works. And so you want to have at least 9 green sources to play the Halfling. The reason why I like the Halfling over the Utopia Sprawl is because it does generate colorless, which is relevant. I've suddenly made a change to my Eldrazi aggro list, realizing that the Delighted Halfling's probably going to serve that deck a bit better, given the amount of color sources that it needs to function. So it was an interesting realization there that Utopia Sprawl probably wasn't the right move, but a Mana Dork was, and Halfling definitely fit that bill. So some interesting choices. Definitely going to be a bit controversial, I feel. But I'm interested to hear everyone's feedback. Clearly the deck's functioning well. I'll be transparent. I'm not the best pilot. I'm definitely making a lot of mistakes. I'm still learning the deck. Having deck knowledge of Tron, of Eldrazi aggro, Eldrazi ramp, Basking Broodscale, there's a lot of information to retain, and so as I play the decks more and I'll have more of a variety of videos going up, I'll obviously start to feel more confident with these specific decks. But given that our only real loss, or at least our match loss, was to Zoo, which has a ton of interaction between Tribal's Flames, between Bolt, between Leyline Binding, Consigned to Memory, Spectral Denial, there's just so much to play through there. I think that's fair, but clean win against Red Belcher, clean win against Ruby Storm, good win against Energy, as well as a clean 2-0 win against Prowess. Thank you, Trinisphere, in Game 2, of course. The deck feels really good. So while people might question my methods, you can't deny the results. But we'll continue refining the deck, seeing what cards are performing well, what cards are not, what cards need to get trimmed or adjusted, etc. I think it does allow for more of a mid-range backup plan, more than just like Construct Beatdown, right? Or Fleshraker Drain. So I think there's a lot of good options here for mono green. I might look into the Gruul version of Writhing Chrysalis as well. I think that version is probably better served with Utopia Sprawl over Writhing Chrysalis, just for the fact of we want to be able to have, green-red turn 1 into Chrysalis turn 2 to ramp. Could be interesting. Allows us to then for turn 3 set up the win. So could be interesting in that regard, but yeah, this felt pretty good outside of me kind of learning the deck. So with that being said, that there will be the end of today's video. If you did enjoy it, please do consider hitting the like button. Comment down below if you did see any lines that I missed, any mistakes that I made, or any general feedback. It is always appreciated. For as much of that, I hope that you all learn from me in both my success and failure. I hope I can learn from you all as well. Last but not least, if you have reached this point in the video and haven't already, please do consider hitting the subscribe button. As I mentioned earlier, these videos, they go up, and I always look at them, see what's doing well, see what's doing not. So if we do see more subscribers come through for this video, I'll be doing more Basking Broodscale. Not to mention, we're getting closer and closer to our next goal of 1,000 subscribers, which at that point, I'll be able to start monetizing these videos, which will allow me to start saving up towards a streaming PC so I can stream live over on Twitch. In the meantime, though, if you do want to support me monetarily, you can do so over on my Patreon, where you can get early access to my deck guides and any updates to my deck guides, as well as early access to my YouTube videos. With that being said, I'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye!